Welcome everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Facecast and today I'm going to rank all the current heroes in Art of War Legions and put them in a tier list. I did this previously, but 10 heroes have been released since then, so let's just rank all of them. Now before we begin, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel for more Art of War content, yada 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 blah blah blah. And I should mention that before I start ranking these heroes, that these are my opinions and my opinions only. You might have different opinions than me, and that's totally fine. We can talk about it in the comments if you want, so let me know how you feel about this list. Alright, let's start with Hohenheim. He is the best farming hero in the game simply because of his smelting aura skill that causes enemy units to drop bonus coins. He can make you gain a few thousand bonus coins, so he's actually really good at farming, but his active skill is somewhat lackluster. So I'm going to put him in the F tier, and just because I'm sticking him in the F tier does not mean that he's a bad hero. As I said, he's the best farming hero in the game. Now we have Engineer Planck. He's a little better than Hohenheim. Photoshop's not really letting me line everything up properly. So the Engineer causes more damage than Hohenheim. He has a few buffs. He can increase defense, he can increase attack speed. He's just not as good as some epic heroes, so that's why he's in the E tier. Moving on to Dante. I like Dante a lot for a rare hero. I'm going to stick him between the D and the E tier. I know I said I like him and then I'm just like sticking him low, but there are so many epic and legendary heroes above him. Dante's active skill causes a good amount of damage, has a decent cooldown time, and he can also increase movement speed, so he's pretty good. He's between D and E. Now we have Green, the only healer in the game besides, Pilgrims. He's the only healing hero in the game, and that's all he does. At high levels, he can heal a lot of health. He also has a passive skill called Health Regen, where allied units within a certain range slowly recover a percentage of health. So he's really cool. I can see him being used a lot in the future. As for now, I'm just going to stick him in the D tier. Now we have Diana, that little assassin Diana. She's pretty good. I'm going to put her in the E tier though. She's kind of like an Engineer Planck, and she has a very interesting passive skill called Lacerate. It says, Jungle Hunter will mark the enemy and all damage taken by the enemy during the mark time will be true damage. So her damage will avoid the enemy's defense. So next we have Kelvins. He's the first hero everyone starts out with in the game. He's pretty good. If you have him, use him. Be happy with him. He's easy to level up. His skills are very interesting. He can increase attack speed, increase movement speed, and reduce the attack speed of the enemy. You guys know all about him. I'm putting him in the D tier though. Next we have the Sorcerer, the Elemental Sorcerer Illum. She's actually pretty good. She can cause a good amount of damage, she can cause a good amount of lasting damage, and she can buff the army. She increases health, she increases attack, and increases defense. So you know what, I'm going to stick her between the C and D tier this time around. She's looking good. Or he, I don't know if it's a he or a she. I'm not going to judge. Next we have Moses. People like him, I think he's okay. I would rather use the Sorcerer. But you know what, him and the Sorcerer might be kind of even. I think I don't know. I'm just going to stick him in the D tier because I'm kind of undecided about him. He can cause a decent amount of damage, but not as much as the Sorcerer. And he can only affect, a certain number of enemy troops. He can increase your health. He can increase your defense. So he is useful. I see a lot of people using him. Nothing wrong with him. He's a good hero. Use him if you have him. Next, we have Edward. Probably my favorite epic hero. He doesn't cause damage aside from his normal attack, but he can increase attack speed, he can increase movement speed, and he can reduce the enemy's attack and reduce their attack speed. I would select him over other epic heroes. I've talked about him a lot, so I'm also going to move on from him. Okay, next we have Kriss. Kriss is kind of hit or miss. His active skill can cause a crap load of damage. I'm talking 9,000 damage at level 15. And his passive skill is really only effective for Pilgrims, so if Pilgrims start to become meta, he can increase their healing effect. Now let's get back to his active skill. His active skill is kind of hit or miss. What it does is it causes damage and it repels enemies, but it only, causes damage and repels enemies to a certain number of troops that are in front of him. So he's kind of a hard one to rank. I think I'm going to stick him between C and D, but I feel like he's a D, okay? just because he's kind of hit or miss. If he can, target the enemy better, or his active skill had a better range, he would be really good. Alright, next we have Ainz, whatever you want to call him. I'm sticking him in the C tier with his buddy Edward. He's probably the best one-man army epic hero. Now what he does is he summons his own reflection, and that reflection will inherit a certain percentage of his attributes. He can summon multiple reflections. He also increases crit rate and crit damage rate. So he's really good at high levels. He can one-man army really nice formations. So consider using him sometime. He's really good. Alright, next we have Robin Hood. He's kind of standard. He does have a short cooldown time. He can evade a lot of damage. He has a standard amount of damage from his skill. I kind of like him simply because he's a ranged unit over other heroes. I mean, since he's a ranged hero over other heroes. But I don't know. He's either a C or a D. I feel like I'm putting too many heroes in the D tier. I'm just undecided about him. I'm sticking him in the D tier. Next we have Minotaur. I'm sticking him in the D tier. I'm not too impressed with him. His skill has a standard amount of damage, standard cooldown. He can increase defense, but his active skill, Headbutt, it blasts enemies in a straight line, stuns them, and deals a lot of damage. It's also kind of hit or miss. He can go in wonky directions. So he's a D tier hero for right now. I really don't like him too much. Then we have Cassandra. She can join everyone else in the D tier. She's an interesting hero. Very interesting. I actually like her. I know I'm putting her along with some heroes I don't like, but there are so many epic and legendary heroes, and these two up here are my favorite epic heroes, so it's kind of hard to put anyone above them or with them. So her normal attack will just randomly draw a certain card, either a yellow card that stuns the enemy, a red card that causes area damage, or a blue card that will reduce the cooldown of the active skill. The active skill isn't really too impressive. It causes a small amount of damage and stuns the opponents. I mean, the stun is pretty cool. If you're looking for a hero that will basically stun the enemy a bunch of times, she might be your way to go. Alright, moving on to our first legendary hero, we have Drake the Rapper. And for now, I'm going to put him in the B tier. I mean, at high levels, he's really good. I kind of underestimate him all the time, and people kind of, throw shade on him. I think he's better than what I'm ranking him and what other people say about him, but there's only 2 tiers above him, and I believe that other heroes are a little better than him. He causes lasting damage. He reduces the enemy's movement speed. He increases attack. He increases attack speed. He increases movement speed. And he's a ranged hero. His range lasting damage skill never seems to miss, so I respect him. He's a good hero to use. If you can level him up high, that's really good. He's really good at high levels. Next we have Ivan. I'm sticking him. He's really hard to level up, and just because he's hard to level up, I mean, he can cause so much freaking damage at level 15. He can cause 9,000 damage, and he can debuff the enemy, or pretty much, reduce their attack speed and movement speed. But he's a walking one-man army. So I'm just going to stick him in the B tier. He's hard to level up. I've seen him at high levels before, and he kicked ass, okay? So if you can get him at a high level eventually down the line, I will rank him higher. He deserves to be ranked higher, but for now, you can't really level him up, so he's going to be a B tier. Alright, next we have Clockman Harrison, my favorite hero in the game, and who I think is probably the best hero to use in the arena, especially level 11 and up. At level 11, Harrison can revive himself and some of your troops, so he's really good. His Space Annihilation skill can cause a lot of damage, and it can also, freeze the enemy within a certain range. He's really good in the back line, like against Ghost Assassins and stuff. So, he's either an A or an S tier hero, and like I said, he is my favorite hero, and I'm not sticking him in the S tier. That should say something. I'm just going to stick him in the A tier. Alright, next we have Apollo. Apollo causes lasting damage with his active skill, but his active skill, it doesn't really go anywhere. It just lands around him. He's a ranged hero. He should shoot his active skill further away, kind of like what Drake does, but he doesn't do that. And just for that, I'm sticking him in the B tier. He can increase your army's attack, which is pretty good, and that's about it. That's all I have to say about him. He disappoints me. Alright, now we have Poseidon, our first S tier hero. I still believe he is an S tier hero. I believe he is the best legendary hero at low levels simply because of his Surging Tide skill that will damage the enemy's entire army, besides magic apprentices who can just go around his Surging Tide skill. And that's probably the best thing about him, his passive skill. It can cause a lot of damage. It can shorten a match. He's really good. He's an S tier hero. Moving on. I've talked about him so much I don't want to say anymore. Alright, now we have the Grim Reaper, and this is going to be kind of hard to rank. You can only get the Grim Reaper if you rank top 20 in the arena, so he's going to be really hard to level up, and I should probably put him in the B tier with Ivan just because of that. However, I believe that the Grim Reaper will be an S tier hero down the line. His Decisive Strike legendary skill kills enemies when their HP is lower than a certain value. He can also cause continuous damage to enemies. He can lifesteal, he can cause a good amount of damage, but you can't really level him up, and since I ranked Ivan in the B tier, I'm going to stick him in the B tier. Him and Ivan could eventually be S tier heroes, but for now, they're hard to level up. They're B tier heroes. Next, we have my waifu Selene. She is an S tier hero. Look, her card's a little bigger because Photoshop's kind of giving me a hard time today. So Selene can cause a lot of damage with her Moonlight Shackle skill. She can shackle the enemy and just damage them. And then her Moonlight Projection passive skill is basically a Poseidon killer. At the start, Selene will open a barrier to make our units immune to partial damage and increase attack power for a certain period of time. So she can basically negate the damage caused by Poseidon's Surging Tide skill. And she's really useful in the arena. She's really good. She's really hard to defeat. She's an S tier hero. Moving on. Now we have Wukong. Wukong is an S tier hero for sure. He's probably the best one-man army hero in the game. He does have a fault, and ranged heroes can take him out. But he can also kill hundreds of troops on his own. He's a one-man freaking, or should I say one monkey freaking wrecking crew. Causes a good amount of damage. He increases attack speed. He increases attack. He also becomes immune to injury at level 11 and above. So he's a really good one-man army hero. Alright, last but not least is Davison, and in my opinion, Davison is the best hero when it comes to passing levels. He's really good at getting through levels. He can reflect damage, he can increase attack, and he can increase health. His active skill is also really useful. It can make him fly across the map to reach a target and cause a good amount of damage and also repel enemies. His legendary skill will also, burn enemies. He's really good at high levels. I like him a lot. Do I like him as much as I like Harrison? I don't know. I use both of these heroes probably the most along with Poseidon, but he's kind of in between. I'm just going to stick him in the A. You can join Harrison. Since he's so good at passing levels, he's going to be an A tier, and that's it. I might regret that later, but that's fine. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching the video. These are all the current heroes in Art of War Legions ranked on a tier list. Of course, these are my opinions. My opinions might change from, 1 second to 1 minute to 3 million, 1,000, trillion, billion years from now. So if I did this tier list again, it might look a little different. But for now, this is what it looks like. We have Hohenheim on the bottom in the F tier, the only F tier hero here. But he's still really good. He's the best farming hero in the game. Then we have Poseidon, Selene, and Wukong in the S tier, followed by Clockman, Harrison, and Davison. And then these two noteworthy heroes, Ivan and the Grim Reaper, who could be S tier heroes, but they're just so hard to get. This concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. Smash like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.